Some breaking news and a CNBC TV18 exclusive news break. In fact, in a major breakthrough on the GST, Centre and the states could agree to lower the dual control threshold from the current 1.5 crore rupees. Sapna Das is here with all the details. Sapna, what are you picking up?
Well, definitely this has been a sticking issue, though of course it does not affect the movement and the progress of the Constitutional Amendment Bill in the Parliament. But having said that, it has been a bit of an issue. So what we understand as of now is the fact that there could be a mutual agreement between the centre and states in terms of lowering the threshold that is being spoken about. The centre has been very clear that right from the word go, there should be a dual control, and states have been saying that up to 1.5 crore, the administrative powers under GST should flow to them. So it's very much possible that this 1.5 crore threshold will get knocked down. We don't really have an estimate as to what is the new number that they're looking at, but definitely GST law will have that number. It could be probably between 50 to 75 lakhs. That's what we are hearing as of now. Apart from this, we have also picked up, and this would be significant going forward, that possibly after the first year rollout of GST, the first year revenue loss may actually stand around 30,000 crores. This is a very caveated number, and you'll have to follow the CA panel recommendations in order to link this potential number that is coming out from North Law with the kind of rate structure and the kind of pruning of exemptions that the CA panel had suggested. But two big things coming out: A, the dual control threshold may be lowered below 1.5 crores to as low as 50 to 75 lakhs, and the second is that the first year GST loss arising after the GST rollout will be 30,000 crores, but that would also depend to a huge extent as to what the exemptions will be, what the threshold will be finally, what the rate structure will be, and one will have to closely follow the CA panel recommendations to understand this 30,000 crore figure.
Right, Sapna, thanks so much for joining us with all those details. In fact, that meeting is over, and we are trying to connect to some experts as well. In fact, we will also be joined by Rituparna Bhuyan shortly, who will tell us exactly when the bill is likely to be tabled in Parliament. And so, in fact, Dinesh Kanabar is joining us now, and I also have Shireen Bhan with me in the studio to take us through that conversation. Thank you, sir, for taking out the time to be with us. Shireen, over to you.
Well, thanks very much, Arabias. This is information that we are now getting in. As we were picking up through the morning today, senior Congress party leaders are travelling to Uttar Pradesh for a massive rally, and that's why we understand now that the bill is going to be taken up in the Rajya Sabha on Wednesday, is what we're given to understand. Let's go across now to Mr. Kanabar. He joins us as well. Mr. Kanabar, there seems to be forward movement now, and we are given to understand that instead of tomorrow, the bill is likely to be taken up on Wednesday, sir. Very quickly, I wanted to understand from you, because there are more decisions that are coming in on, the threshold now. Dual control will probably not be there for transactions lower than 1.5 crore rupees, and the loss estimated by the government in the first year of the GST rollout is about 30-odd%, and 4 rates within the GST ambit: a standard rate of about 18%, a concessional rate of about 6% for gold, and a few others. Your first reactions?
I think we are closer to the GST than we ever were, with a number of things on which consensus has been built. The reduction in the threshold limit is something which will gladden the hearts of small traders, so that's something which is very, very welcome. Also, as you mentioned, while we have this 30,000 crore which is estimated to be the shortfall, and given the fact that the rollout is going to be revenue neutral so far as the states are concerned, I think there is a lot remaining to be done out there. And that what is remaining to be done out there is of course what will really determine the success of GST. But as I told you earlier, we are closer to the rollout than we ever were.
Government does decide to table it, which we understand is likely on Wednesday. But just to come back on the rates, 40% is likely to be the rate for luxury items and tobacco products. As I was talking about, a 6% rate for gold is what we're given to understand, and a standard rate of about 18-odd%. So I just wanted to get your thoughts as far as those 4 GST rates are concerned.
Shireen, as you know, the standard rate of 18% is something which was always anticipated after the first statement by the economic advisor, Arvind Panigrahi. So from that point of time, I think 18% was more or less what was expected. The only thing was whether it would be 17 or 18. And 18 looks something which the industry has now learned to accept. The 40% negative rate is indeed a slightly higher rate and could impact some parts of the industry. And that's where the government probably needs to relook as to whether. So on the one hand, you have a possibility of having multiple higher rates, which will distort the simplicity of GST. And on the other hand, a 40% rate applied across the board on the so-called luxury goods could be negative to many of the industries.
Right. That is, of course, as per the recommendations primarily of the Subramaniam Committee. Remember, the Chief Economic Advisor had presented his recommendations. Of course, Mr. Kanabar, we are given to understand that perhaps there has been a resolution of some sort that's been adopted as part of the State Finance Minister's meeting. And while they haven't discussed a rate, they have discussed a mechanism, or at least the principles on which a revenue-neutral rate is likely to be arrived at. And it is likely to be higher than what was recommended by the Subramaniam Committee, sir. Anywhere between 20 and 22 is what we're given to understand. What do you make of that?
No, again, as I said, Shirin, earlier, this is something which we have come to accept as being the way in which GST will roll forward. The point is that once we get rolling forward and we see the actual implication of how there is a roll forward, there can always be a review of the rates, a review of a few of the things. But the fact that it is getting implemented today is really the more critical aspect.
Yes, you're absolutely right on that front. Mr. Kanabar, thanks very much for joining us. That's Dinesh Kanabar. Of course, all eyes now on the bill and making it to Parliament. We are given to understand, as we've been pointing out through the day, that because senior Congress leaders are going to be away in UP for a rally, the bill is unlikely to be taken up tomorrow. Instead, it will be taken up on Wednesday. Remember, there was that mega meeting in Parliament today between the Congress and the government, and most issues seem to have been addressed, including, as Sapna has pointed out for us, the issue of dual control. Remember, as far as regional parties were concerned, as was very clear from the State Empowered Panel Finance Ministers meeting, they were very clear, no dual control for turnover of 1.5 crore rupees and less, and the centre has now seems to have given in to that demand as well. So the GST certainly seems to be moving forward. Well, Arif, we'll be tracking this story every minute, but for now, it's back to you.
Right, Shireen, thank you so much for joining us with all those details and taking us through that conversation with Mr. Kanabar. But while the government hopes to pass the GST bill in the monsoon session, it seems to be closer than ever. Here are some reactions that we've got trickling in from the Parliament today.
सभी राजनीतिक दलों से संवाद हो रहा है और संवाद के माध्यम से लगभग आखिरी चरण में जो है वो संवाद की प्रक्रिया हुई है और हमें पूरा विश्वास है, उम्मीद है कि जो ये हफ्ता रहेगा, इस हफ्ते में जीएसटी सदन में आएगा।
बातचीत सरकार से चल रही है। हम तो चाहते हैं कि देश की अच्छा हो, अर्थव्यवस्था अच्छी हो। यही लोग जीएसटी रोके हुए थे, बीजेपी वाले, अब कह रहे हैं बहुत अच्छी है। तब कांग्रेस बड़ी खराब थी, कांग्रेस की सब पॉलिसी खराब थी। अब जब सत्ता में बैठे तो कांग्रेस बहुत अच्छी होगी, कांग्रेस की सब पॉलिसी बड़ी अच्छी होगी, उन्हीं को लागू करो, अब ये कह रहे हैं। तो ठीक है, हमने कुछ सुझाव दिए, सरकार ने मान लिया अगर बिल में, तो हम समर्थन करेंगे।
जीएसटी के बिल के हक में हम पहले से थे, आज भी है, कल भी उसका समर्थन करेंगे। और मैं मानता हूं कि सरकार ने सभी लोगों से सभी पार्टियों से बात कर ली होगी और आम सहमति से ये पास होना चाहिए, ऐसा पहले से हमारा राय रहा है।
Right, so that's all the commentary coming in on GST and there's much more, but it's time to slip